Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a relatively deep dive into IdeaDork's mods. We'll be covering the sailbacks mod, hazard units mod, processor mod, type 389 skeleton subrace, and finally the thrasher mod, all made by IdeaDork. I played a combination of these mods over the weekend. You can find them in the Twitch mods playlist. Before we start, a small note from me: short of a rather steep spike in difficulty in some areas, the mods provide a rather fun overall experience. In the background, you'll see some B-roll from the playthrough I had this weekend. Following in the footsteps of the template laid out last Monday, I'll overlay some images throughout the video to help keep track of the mods I'm talking about. Starting off, let's go through the animal mods, as they're relatively simple and easy to add into a playthrough. First up, we have the processor units. These little buggers are relatively fast, they have a nice carry size, and can be bought from roaming skeleton nomads. The processor unit also spawns throughout skeleton related areas. They're cheap for the stats they come with. They have a unique quirk which I actually find really beneficial, in that they eat bodies. This allows a small handful of them to manage waste management around your base. They, however, make terrible pack animals. Despite their strengths, quirks, and usefulness, they have incredibly weak legs, which means that they can get toppled with immense ease. Moving on from the processor units, we have the sailbacks. These guys boast a rather large inventory, large frame, and unlike the processor units, they have a rather large health pool to protect their inventory. Despite being bulky and holding a larger footprint that can occasionally get them caught on smaller objects, these problems are offset by faster pathfinding ability in the mod settings. The sailbacks can also be bought from skeleton traders throughout the lands and also spawn naturally throughout skeleton areas. They have a rather healthy spawn rate, so players shouldn't be lacking too much in finding these whenever they go out to explore. Players should also keep in mind that these spawn with fuel pellets as a death item, which can be used as a fuel source. Players can also make immobile sailbacks as power generators. These unlock at tech level 3, provided you have researched robotics and fuel generator theory previous. This tech unlocks the immobile sailback as a generator and the ability to craft the fuel storage for fuel pellets. The fuel pellets are not craftable, but however are viable from a surprisingly large amount of traders, along with being lootable from the previously mentioned sailback spawns themselves and many ruins. Neither mods mentioned here just now provide much in the way of story, but they do their job well, introducing a new spawn, a simple power mechanic, and some new potential enemies. The next mod, however, cranks that to 11 in the enemy department. Meet these horrible monstrosities, the Thrashers. Visiting swamps can be beyond lethal. These guys rise from the water to fire off harpoons in quick succession, only to sink back into the water after laying waste to your entire party. The Thrashers can be found in many skeleton-based areas like Black Desert City, Grey Desert, Deadlands, along with Cheater's Run, and some in the Ashlands. The swamps have their own variant, as you can see on screen now. Covered in vines and greenery from being stuck in the swamp, they blend in such a way that they're almost impossible to see from a distance, and by the time you notice, you're likely dead. Balance-wise, I think the Thrashers should have the long range they do now, but fire a bit slower, as they can be pretty overwhelming when it comes to the distance and firepower. Pair that with swamp variants and the monsters there, your party is very unlikely to survive a swamp visit. Non-recruitable without external mods, these guys do, however, provide a new weapon type you can use in the form of their harpoon turret and its ammo. While they do come with a unique backpack, this is not usable by the player. The bolts themselves don't stack very far, so much like the last mod review, you may want external mods or a larger backpack. Moving on from the animals, we have the Type 389 skeleton. This new skeleton type is balanced around being as similar to the humans as it can be, with a solid model that is reminiscent color scheme wise and overall aesthetically of the robot Rebo from Flubber. The Type 389 has a rather friendly human appearance. Relatively common in the skeleton areas again, they are somewhat rarer than previous enemies and animals. They can, however, spawn at the Type 389 skeleton mod comes with one unique recruit. Clint can be found in the following possible locations: Black Scratch, Black Desert City, and finally Hang, through all of its various vanilla world states. The skeleton subrace is balanced in such a way that they're not really strong in many regards beyond being resistant to weather like skeleton. They have average stats and bonuses much like Greenlanders. Next up, we have the hazard units. This mod gives me a lot of mixed feelings. Looking like a rolling ball skeletons, one almost expects that these skeletons to simply show up and roll into your group to cause chaos. They are, however, a standing skeleton type with a round ball-like armor. The armor, along with the skeletons themselves, appear to be modeled to be late game or even possibly end game content, which, of course, presents its own challenges. The skeletons are tankier than many other modded skeletons with the armor, and in many cases even without said armor. The content of the mod is rather lengthy and substantial compared to previous content from 2 unique recruits, a new boss, and some new towns. However, like many things in this mod, there are many issues with the content added. The towns seem to be native only to Venge, which you have to be prepared to go into in order to stop the almost end-game player raids that busy you in most locations in the game. Meaning no matter your tech level, no matter your game experience, and no matter where you live in-game, you're getting raided with almost consistent end-game content. 8 Ball is the basic unique recruit sporting a unique armor set. He can be found in, well, let's go over another issue, meaning you may inadvertently spawn him in some town in the middle of nowhere, just by passing by that said town. Meaning unless you're specifically looking for him in every town you visit, you're not likely to find him without going around and hunting through every town again. Luckily, short of some decent dialogue, he is alright to miss in-game, thanks to another recruit after going through the trials of the Oni. Based in Venge, you can find a ruined tower in the western area of Venge. Here you can find some well-written dialogue in the form of a potential recruit, barring you can defeat the boss in the area called the Blue Oni. This boss, much like the Oni themselves, is a war of attrition. Bring your best martial artists and your heaviest hitting heavy weapons because you're going to need them to take this guy down. Once killed, you can leave the area and let the world state flip some of the towns, and then you can go back to the Lost Oni and recruit him. The mods themselves are super fun, add great content to the game, even if that content is a bit overtuned, and are definitely worth a full playthrough pairing with other mods. The models and textures are great and fit in across Kenshi. The main gripes with the mod, as was stated, seem to only be in the form of overtuning and difficulty. The towns added by the hazard units mod feel more difficult for difficulty's sake, and while they're well made, they are cloned versions of themselves, which leads to an issue of, quote, just wanting things to be done, end quote. As was stated earlier, many of the fights become wars of attrition rather than a combination of skill and difficulty. Even despite some of the issues presented, I think they deserve a spot on the player's mod list and deserve the credit and love they've gotten so far. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it around. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them below. Thank you everyone for watching.